The game is more than just kicking the ball. It is about discipline. Show me you understand.
Under the silver moon of a tiny Nigerian village, a boy named Tunde kicked a rag ball across the dusty field, dreaming of stadiums he had never seen. But when a mysterious coach appears and offers him a chance at greatness, Tunde must face the impossible, a father who forbids his dream, rivals who want him to fail, and a journey that could either make him a legend or crush him forever. So grab your popcorn, sit back, and prepare yourself for one of the most powerful stories you'll ever hear. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an inspiring story. And don't forget, click the link below this video to watch the full story.
Subscribe for more content.
In the quiet village of Akinlade, where the red earth baked beneath the blazing African sun and goats wandered freely between clay houses with zinc roofs, a young boy named Tunde Adeyemi stood with wide eyes, staring at a flickering, broken television perched on the counter of Baba Sikaru's small shop. A device that barely worked but showed glimpses of something magical. The image of a footballer, the great Cristiano Ronaldo, dancing across the screen with unmatched speed and precision, filled Tunde's heart with a fire he had never felt before. A burning desire to be more than a boy running barefoot on dusty roads. A longing to kick a ball like that and hear the roar of thousands of people cheering. Even if only in his imagination. Tunde was 9 years old, slim and small for his age, with dark skin that glimmered under the late afternoon sun, short coarse hair, a round face, a small nose, full lips, and eyes so bright and curious that everyone in the village said they could see dreams forming within them, while his best friend Kunal, also 9, with short curly hair, thin lips, an oval face, and equally dark skin, peered over Tunde's shoulder, his hands clutching a worn stick he had brought to kick imaginary balls, his wide brown eyes reflecting the same wonder. Though tinged with fear that the magic they saw was unreachable, the shop smelled of roasted ground nuts and palm oil, the air heavy with dust stirred by passing chickens and the occasional crowing of a rooster, while the sun cast long golden rays over the dusty street, illuminating Tunde's tattered white shirt and faded blue shorts, and the dirt clinging to his bare feet. Worn from running between his mother's house and the market, he was a boy who could see stars in the eyes of men he had only seen on a tiny broken screen, a boy whose heart had been stolen by the magic of football, who whispered softly to himself, "One day, I will be like him. One day, I will make the world cheer my name." The villagers passing by shook their heads and muttered about wasting time, but Tunde did not hear them, for in his mind, he was already running past defenders, leaping over imagined opponents, and striking the ball with the kind of power and grace he had only dreamed of. And as the sun dipped lower, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, a promise that no dusty road, no broken television, and no naysayer could ever erase, he would become a footballer. He would become Tunde Adeyemi, and one day, the whole world would see him. The next morning, the sun rose slowly over Akinlade village, spilling golden light across red dust roads, clay houses, and the tall swaying palm trees, as young Tunde Adeyemi and his best friend Kunal ran barefoot through the fields behind the village, their laughter echoing like bells in the quiet air, their eyes bright with excitement, for today they would make their very own football, not from leather or plastic, but from rags, tied tightly together to create something that could carry their dreams across the dusty earth. Tunde, slim and weary from chasing chickens and helping in the small cocoa garden, knelt on the ground, carefully gathering pieces of old cloth, plastic wrappers, and twine, his small hands working quickly as sweat ran down his dark-skinned face, while Kunal, equally dark-skinned, short and slim, with a lively oval face and thin lips stretched in a grin, helped by cutting strips of fabric from an old torn shirt. And together they worked under the watchful eyes of Mama Said, who peered from the doorway of their small compound, her colorful headscarf catching the morning light, her lips curved in a quiet, proud smile, knowing that her son's heart was filled with a fire that not even the strictest words of Baba Adeyemi could extinguish. By midday, the rag ball was ready, a small but sturdy creation, patched together in bright reds, blues, and whites. with knots that Tunde had tied with care, and when he kicked it across the field for the first time, it rolled unevenly over the dry red dirt, bouncing off stones and small clumps of grass. Yet in their imaginations it became a perfect ball soaring through stadiums, passing defenders, and hitting the net with thunderous applause. The two boys ran, kicked, and chased the rag ball until their feet were blistered and dusty, the wind carrying their laughter across the village, while goats and chickens scattered, startled by the sudden bursts of energy. And even some of the older boys watching from the mango tree shook their heads in disbelief, muttering that the boys were foolish, yet none of it mattered. Because in that moment, Tunde and Kunal were not poor boys of a small Nigerian village. They were warriors of the field, dreamers of impossible dreams, and as the sun dipped toward the horizon, painting the sky with fire, Tunde held the rag ball close, whispering to himself with determination, "One day, this will be real. One day, I will play in front of the world." As the village slept under a blanket of twinkling stars, with crickets singing their nightly songs and the gentle rustle of palm leaves in the warm African breeze, Tunde Adeyemi crept quietly out of the Adeyemi compound, carrying the rag ball he and Kunal had fashioned the day before. For he had decided that dreams could not wait for the sun. And tonight, beneath the silver gaze of the moon, he would practice like the great Cristiano Ronaldo he had seen on the broken television. Tunde, slim and weary, his dark skin gleaming faintly in the moonlight, knelt briefly to inspect the field behind the village, where goats had already settled for the night and a few chickens huddled near the clay walls. Then began to dribble the rag ball between stones he had arranged like defenders, imagining the roar of a stadium, the weight of thousands of cheering voices pressing against his small frame, and the feeling of triumph that came with each perfect kick. From the doorway of the compound, Mama Said, graceful and warm, wrapped in her colorful Iro and hat scarf, watched silently, holding a small lantern that cast a soft golden glow, her eyes filled with pride and worry, for she knew her son's father, Baba Adeyemi, would be furious if he discovered Tunde's secret practice. Yet she could not stop the fire she saw burning in the boy's eyes, a fire that promised greatness if only it were nurtured. Tunde ran across the dusty field again and again, shifting the rag ball with his feet, twisting, spinning, and leaping over uneven ground, scraping his knees on the red earth but refusing to stop, for every fall was a lesson, and every rise was a victory. And in his mind he could see himself in a stadium with lights brighter than the moon, surrounded by teammates and opponents who marveled at his skill, his heart beating faster with every imagined goal. The night deepened, and the silver moon cast long shadows over the field, turning dust into shimmering clouds around him, and as Tunde paused to catch his breath, he whispered softly to himself, "I will be like him. I will be the boy who made the world cheer my name." And Mama Said, smiling softly from the doorway, knew that no rules, no village boundaries, and no obstacles could extinguish the fire of a boy whose heart had already begun its journey toward greatness. The sun rose hot and bright over Ekanlade village, turning the red dust of the open field into a glowing sea of ochre as Tunde Adeyemi stepped onto the uneven ground, rag ball in hand, ready to face the older boys of the village in a match that would decide who ruled the dusty field. For the villagers whispered that skill and courage were just as important as strength, and though Tunde was small and barefoot, his heart was fierce, burning with the fire of every dream he had ever held beneath the silver moonlight. His friend Kunal stood beside him, eyes wide, wearing his tattered shorts and a faded shirt, ready to cheer, while Sodiq, the oldest boy in the group, tall and broad-shouldered with a sharp gaze and dark skin glistening in the sun, smirked, clearly underestimating the small boy who had dared to challenge him. And the other children of the village gathered near the edges of the field, goats and chickens scuttling away as the excitement rose like a rising wind. Tunde took a deep breath and remembered the nights he had trained under the moon, every scrape and fall, every dribble between stones, every imagined stadium and imagined roar. The lessons burned inside him, guiding his feet as he darted forward, the rag ball bouncing unevenly across the dusty field, but moving with a precision only practice and determination could create. And with a sudden burst of speed, he spun past two defenders, leaving them stumbling, and struck the ball with the perfect arc between two stones that served as the makeshift goalposts. Scoring a goal that made his chest swell with pride, the villager erupted with shouts. Some in amazement, some in disbelief, while Sadiq froze. Hands on his hips, jaw tight, realizing for the first time that this small boy was not just lucky, but extraordinary, and Kunal jumped and waved his arms, shouting with joy, as Tunde ran toward him. Ragball clutched tightly, his dark skin glistening with sweat, dust clinging to his legs and arms, and the wind lifting his short coarse hair as he laughed. With a sound so pure that even Mama Said, watching from the compound, felt tears well in her eyes. By the end of the match, Tunde had earned not only a hard-fought victory, but also the awe and respect of the villagers. And though the sun hung high and the field was battered with dust and footprints, one thing was certain, in that small corner of Akinlade village, a boy who dreamed of stadiums and crowds had begun to show the world the strength of his heart, and the fire in his soul refused to be dimmed. The dusty field behind Akinlade village had never felt so alive. The sun was climbing higher, painting long shadows across the earth, as villagers peeked from behind mud walls and under mango trees to watch Tunde Dayami, barefoot and dusty, clutching his rag ball with pride. His slim dark-skinned frame glistening with sweat, eyes alight with the thrill of victory. After a match that had earned him respect from boys who once laughed at his small stature and daring spirit, among the onlookers, Kunal bounced excitedly, his thin lips stretched in a wide grin, curly hair catching the sunlight, while Sadiq, older and taller, now stood silently, hands on his hips, no longer mocking, but studying the boy who had so boldly defeated him. And even the goats and chickens scattered to the sides seemed to pause as if sensing that something extraordinary was unfolding. Then, a shadow fell over the field. Tall and imposing, with dark skin and a short, neat beard, wearing a faded blue tracksuit and a well-worn cap shading his sharp eyes, came Coach Bamidal. Moving slowly but purposefully, his gaze fixed on Tunde, who stopped mid-breath, rag ball in hand, heart pounding. "You played very well," the man said, his deep voice calm but firm. The boys instinctively stepped back, some whispering the name Coach Bamidal among themselves, unsure of his purpose, while Tunde felt a mix of pride and nervousness, remembering every night of dribbling under the silver moon and every scraped knee that had brought him to this moment. Tunde straightened, trying to appear confident. "I only did what I practiced," he said softly, voice steady but full of excitement. The coach studied him, eyes narrowing thoughtfully. "And what is your name?" "Young player, Tunde Dayami," the boy replied respectfully. "I have trained footballers in Lagos," Coach Bamidal continued, "and I know talent when I see it. You have something special. But talent alone is not enough. You must train properly if you want to become great." Tunde's heart leapt. Can you train me?" he asked, barely daring to hope. The coach's lips curved slightly into a smile, and he looked toward the distant village compound. "Yes," he said slowly, "but first, I must speak with your father." Tunde's joy faltered. Baba Dayami, who despised football, would surely refuse. And yet something in Tunde's chest told him that this man, this coach, had seen the fire within him, a fire that no dusty field, no narrow village road, and no father's scolding could ever extinguish. That evening, as the sun sank behind the tall palm trees of Akinlade village, painting the sky in shades of deep orange and purple, Tunde Dayami sat on the worn wooden bench near the edge of his compound, rag ball resting beside his feet, staring at the fading light with a heart heavier than he could explain. For the echo of his father's words still rattled in his mind. "My son will not waste his life chasing a ball." The words had been spoken with such certainty, such finality, that even the fire in Tunde's chest threatened to dim. Yet within him, the tiny spark of hope refused to vanish. Across the compound, Baba Dayami sat under the old mango tree, a calabash of palm wine in his hand, face stern, eyes hidden beneath the shadow of the branches, not daring to meet his son's gaze, convinced that he was protecting the boy from disappointment and hardship, from the world's cruelty, while Mama Said watched silently from the doorway, her colorful wrapper shimmering in the last rays of sun, eyes soft with understanding. lips pressed together to hold back the words of encouragement she longed to give, knowing that her son's destiny would not be determined by fear or obedience alone. The night fell slowly, draping the village in silver light, and Tunde rose, clutching his rag ball. The air was filled with the chorus of crickets, the occasional low bleat of goats, and the whisper of the wind through the palm leaves. He imagined himself running on real grass, under stadium lights, with thousands of eyes watching every touch of the ball. He imagined the world cheering, a roar that could drown out fear and doubt. And he whispered to himself, "I will not stop. I will be like him. I will be Tunde Adeyemi." Suddenly, a soft voice called from the doorway. "Tunde," it said. He turned to see Mama Said, lantern in hand, her face glowing in the gentle light. "Your father is afraid," she said softly. "Afraid that you will suffer." But sometimes, a dream refuses to die. Before Tunde could reply, a voice boomed from the road outside the gate. Coach Bamidal had come. "Tunde," he shouted. The boy ran to the gate, heart pounding. The coach, strong and imposing in his tracksuit, carried the promise of a new beginning. "I have trained many players in my life," he said. "And I have learned something important. A true footballer never gives up. Tomorrow morning, before the sun rises, meet me at the field." Tunde clutched the rag ball tighter than ever. His eyes glistened with determination. Hope had returned to his heart. His dream was not over, it was only just beginning. Before the first rooster crowed over Akinlade village, the sky was still dark and heavy with the promise of a new day. And the dusty field behind the village already echoed with the rhythm of determination as Tunde Adeyemi ran barefoot across the uneven earth, rag ball clutched tightly under his arm. Every step stirring red dust into the cool morning air. While his mentor, Coach Bamidal, stood tall with arms crossed, eyes sharp and focused, observing the boy's every movement. Knowing that the fire of talent was ryan and tamed, and that only discipline and sweat could shape it into greatness, Tunde sprinted. Weaving between piles of stones the coach had placed like imaginary defenders. Heart hammering against his chest, lungs burning, muscles screaming in protest. Yet he refused to stop, remembering the nights spent practicing under the silver moon. Every scrape on his knees and every bruised elbow a badge of courage. A testament to a dream that refused to die. His dark skin glistened with sweat. Short, coarse hair sticking to his forehead. Eyes blazing with determination that even the rising sun could not dim. Nearby, Kunal and a few curious village boys watched from a distance, whispers of amazement passing between them. Their hands covering their mouths as Tunde executed spins, feints, and bursts of speed that seemed impossible for a boy so small, while so deep. Older and broad-shouldered, shook his head in disbelief, muttering, "That boy, he's dangerous." After countless runs, kicks, and dribbles, Tunde finally dropped to the ground, chest heaving, arms trembling, but a wide smile spread across his dusty face. Coach Bamidal approached, hand resting on the boy's shoulder, his voice low but firm. "Tunde, you have improved. But talent alone will not carry you far. This village is too small for the fire that burns within you. There is an academy in Lagos. Trials are next month. You must go." The world shifting around him as the realization settled in. His dream was no longer confined to the dusty village. It stretched beyond the palm trees, past the mud houses, and towards stadiums filled with cheering crowds. Yet even as excitement surged in his chest, a shadow loomed. From the edge of the field, a deep voice called, heavy with anger, "Tunde." He froze, dust rising around his feet, heart skipping. Slowly, he turned. Standing there was Baba Adeyemi, his father. Tall and stern in traditional Yoruba attire, eyes blazing with disapproval. The man whose love was fierce but whose fear of failure had always been stronger than his hope. Tunde's first real test of courage had arrived. The dusty field behind Akinlade village felt smaller that morning, though it had not changed, as Tunde Adeyemi stood clutching his rag ball. The weight of his father's stare pressing down on him heavier than the sun above. Baba Adeyemi, tall and broad, dressed in traditional Yoruba igbada that swayed with each step, lips pressed together in silence, while villagers and curious children peeked from doorways and mango trees. Sensing that a confrontation between father and son of great consequence was about to unfold, Tunde's heart pounded. He remembered all the nights he had trained under the moon, the early mornings running barefoot across the dusty field, and the promise he had made to himself that one day he would play football like Cristiano Ronaldo. He took a deep breath. Trying to summon courage stronger than fear, Baba Adeyemi stopped a few steps away. Shadow stretching across the red earth. "Why are you doing this?" he demanded. Voice firm but not angry, a mixture of concern and disappointment woven into each word. "Do you think this dream will make you a man?" Tunde lowered his head, then lifted it slowly, speaking with a quiet steadiness that surprised even him. "I only want a chance, Baba. A chance to show what I can do. A chance to work hard and be someone who makes the village proud." The father's eyes darkened, then softened. "I also love football. I traveled to Lagos for a trial. I thought I could be great, but I failed. I lost time, money, respect." Tunde's chest tightened. The man who had seemed immovable was suddenly vulnerable, carrying a past that mirrored his own dreams. "I promise, Baba," Tunde said, stepping forward. "I will train harder than anyone, fall and rise again. And I will not waste this chance." For a long silence, the sun beating down on them, father and son simply looked at each other. Then Baba Adeyemi exhaled slowly, muscles relaxing, and finally spoke. "If you go, you must give everything. No excuses. No turning back." Tunde's eyes lit up, joy and relief flooding him. "I promise." And in that moment, the boy who had dreamed under the moon was allowed to chase the sun. The bustling streets of Lagos were nothing like the quiet, dusty roads of Akinlade village, and as Tunde Adeyemi stepped off the crowded bus with his rag ball tucked under his arm, he felt both awe and fear swirl within him. The towering buildings casting long shadows over the endless streams of motorcycles, buses, and pedestrians shouting and weaving through the chaos, while hawkers peddled fried yam, spicy suya, and freshly squeezed juice, and the smell of exhaust mixed with the warm, humid air, wrapping around him like a challenge he could not ignore. Tunde, now 14, had grown taller, slim and athletic from years of running barefoot across village fields. His dark skin glistening under the African sun, short coarse hair slightly longer now, eyes bright and full of determination, and though he carried the rag ball, it had become a symbol of every struggle, every scraped knee. Every night he had practiced under the moon while his village slept. He clutched it tightly as Coach Bamidal, tall, strong, and stern in his faded blue tracksuit, guided him through the gates of the Lagos Football Academy, where perfectly green fields stretched endlessly and hundreds of boys in crisp football kits started, kicked, and passed with skill that made Tunde's heart pound with both excitement and intimidation. As trials began, Tunde struggled to keep up with boys bigger and faster than him, sweat stinging his eyes, feet slipping on the immaculate grass. And a few of the older players laughed quietly at the small village boy who seemed out of place, whispering words he could barely hear but which stung nonetheless. He fell, scraped his knees, felt the sting of embarrassment, and almost let doubt creep into his heart. But then he remembered the nights in Akinlade, the mango tree under which he had dreamed, the rag ball that had flown imperfectly across dusty fields, and the promise he had made to himself to become someone the world could not ignore. Tunde stood, took a deep breath, and ran again, dribbling past defenders, twisting and spinning with a courage that was raw and fearless. He shot the ball with all his might, and it soared into the goal with a curve that made coaches gasp. The laughter stopped. Surprise and respect replaced it. One of the senior trainers, tall and observant, nodded slowly, seeing the fire in Tunde's heart that could not be measured by size or speed alone. And as he walked off the field, exhausted but proud, he whispered softly to himself, "Cristiano Ronaldo, I will become like you, but I will be Tunde Adeyemi, and the world will know my name." The Lagos Stadium stretched before Tunde Adeyemi like a vast ocean of cheering voices, banners of every color waving in the sunlight, and the air vibrating with energy that made his heart beat faster than it ever had on the dusty fields of Akinlade village, where the wind carried the scent of red earth and palm trees rather than exhaust and city heat. Tunde, now 15, taller and lean from years of training, with short coarse hair and dark skin glistening with sweat, laced up his cleats, pulled his football kit tight over his slim, athletic frame, and took a deep breath. Feeling the weight of every moment that had brought him here, the nights practicing under the moon, the early mornings running barefoot across village fields, the laughter of his best friend Kunal, the stern lessons from Baba Adayami, and the quiet and wavering support of Mama Said. The opposing team was formidable, tall, fast, and skilled, but Tunde's eyes were fixed on the goal, the ball an extension of his will, and as it came to him at the edge of the penalty area, he remembered every fall and rise, every scrap of rag tied into a makeshift ball, and the whisper of promise he had made to himself years ago, "I will be like him. I will be Tunde Dayami." With a sudden sprint, he twisted past defenders, his cleats digging into the turf, the ball gliding across the green with perfect precision. The goalkeeper lunged, but Tunde, remembering every lesson from Coach Bamidal, lifted his foot and struck the ball with power and grace, sending it curving into the top corner of the net. The stadium erupted in thunderous applause, thousands of voices shouting his name. His teammates lifted him onto their shoulders, while Coach Bamidal smiled proudly from the sidelines. And in Akinlade village, Baba Adayami and Mama Said watched the live broadcast on a small television, tears streaming down their faces. Tunde knelt on the field, picking up a small stone from the ground, the sun setting in golden hues behind the stands, and whispered softly, "From Akinlade to the world, dreams are never too big for those who believe." And in that moment, the boy who had once kicked a rag ball under the moonlight became a man whose story would inspire generations, proving that perseverance, courage, and the fire in one's heart could carry a dream from a dusty village field to the grandest stadiums of the world.
Subscribe for more content.